Welcome to the Off Tackle with John Fina Show on the Overreaction Sports Network.
It is the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with me, John Fina, presented by FanDuel. Welcome to this bye-week edition of my show. We'd love to have your comments. Jump into those comments, throw them at us, do whatever you got to do. Get all the anger and the love out, whichever it is, bring it to us. Today's installation of the Off Tackle Show, it's me and Jerry Ostroski. So you're going to get two heavy-handed, hammer-headed offensive linemen ready to just kind of tear this roster apart, tear the season apart, build it back, put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle, or what the hell? Not at all. Welcome to the show, Jerry Ostroski, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, John. I'm doing good. Just I hate bye weeks because it makes you sit around and watch games and get inside your head and think about things. And I'd much rather be talking about games we've played, but obviously we got a game coming up in Carolina. Of course, the Bills laying 7.5 points, presented by FanDuel spread of the game. So I'm looking forward to it. And then obviously, hopefully play a good game, get some of these wrongs that we have righted, and as we get ready for the Chiefs in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wait, Jerry, I mean, I know you logged out of Twitter last week a little bit after that loss.
Yes.
I did not, only because I'm not sure I could ever log back in. You know how technologically unsavvy I am. But were you just? I mean, it was remarkable. Like 4-2. We haven't beat anybody with a great record, but the unhinged overreaction. Name of our network, of course. But some of the takes were just insane, just gone crazy. Did you log back in and get a little taste of that? I mean,
yeah, I'm back on, but I'm considering getting back off again real quick. Believe me, because some of the vitriol towards certain people in the organization's a little much. But no, I mean, it's part of fandom. It's part of, when you support a team and everything. And, as I've said, we're still 4-2. I don't care what the record is of the teams we beat. They're the teams that have been put in front of us. We're 4-2. We've had 2 games that haven't gone well. Obviously there needs to be some adjustments. And, as you know, John, I could talk to you about this and you understand this as much as anybody. People think, I say people, a lot of times, even coaches, get comfortable with systems. They get comfortable with things they do. They continually just go back to them. And, for the longest time, what Buffalo's been doing has worked. And then also you throw in the fact that, well, if it doesn't work, if it's a little bit iffy, we've got Josh Allen to get us out of it. Well, the last 2 weeks, I think the number one thing these defenses have done well is kept him from scrambling. And the stat that I give you to kind of back that up is how many times have we seen Josh Allen sacked in the pocket this much in his career? Not much. And he's getting sacked in the pocket quite a bit. There's uncertainty. He's not being able to get out because of the way defenses are playing him. So there needs to be some adjustments, and those are things we'll talk about today.
Yeah, you brought up a point that I brought up, and you kind of, took it a little bit further about the teams that we beat don't have great records. And I love that as a hot button issue to get people amped up one direction or the other. But from the player perspective, I think you probably sit in the area that I sit, which is, I don't care if you're playing the 2-12 Cleveland Browns or the 12-2 Kansas City Chiefs. Both games are extremely hard to win. These guys get lined up, and then they get paid. They have pride. They're professionals. They're trying to win their job every week. And then you add to that, and you remember this coming to Buffalo. You were every other team's Super Bowl, right? So if you want to put your stake in the ground and say your organization is going in the right direction, who better to beat than somebody like the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles, right? The Packers right now. You want to stake that claim. You're going to get everybody's best performance across the board. And then addressing the vitriol, that we've all experienced and kind of sadly had to read through on social media. I guess my take on that is it's unfortunate, but this is the environment we live in. When you and I played, it was, Joe Miller posting that meme of old man yelling at the sky, right? And in some ways, I kind of wish we could go back to that. Just the old man walking out the front door of his house, just screaming about the Buffalo Bills. But now we get it, behind avatars, nobody's real face, real name. In some instances it is. And it's unfortunate. But the truth remains, like you said, Josh, his sack numbers aren't high, but we're on pace now for far more than last year. And there have been some in the pocket. Let's stick with the offense. Let's stick with Joe Brady. And I have a take on Josh Allen and where we're going to go. But looking forward, Carolina Panthers, what do you think? Couple of nuance changes, something that we should, internally look at as an offense and apply some changes.
Well, I think you got to look at three things. First is really not changes. First is availability. And it'd be nice to have a roster full of healthy players that you expect to play, something that this team rarely has. Dalton Kincaid, who many tried to jettison after the end of last season, obviously is our number one threat right now in the passing game. He's not been available. Then you add Palmer, who came in and was getting those reps, did a very good job of doing those things. He gets hurt. So it's like at some point in time, I'd like to see our full gamut of players that we expect to play on the field at the same time. Now, with that being said, you can't go ahead and predict injury. You don't know what's going to happen. So I guess you would say, as far as what I'm concerned about or what I'd like to see, is I'd really like to see us hang our hat and make sure we go back to being a big package physical football team. With that being said, I don't really believe, and we talked about this today on another show, I don't really believe that Keon Coleman needs to be our number one target. We're not built to be an 11 personnel team. We're built to be, in some cases, a 21, 31, or I should say 13 or 12 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, all of this stuff. One thing I was very disappointed about in the Atlanta game, I thought with Kincaid being out that we would go back to our 2 tight ends with Alec Anderson on the field quite a bit. We didn't see that at all. That seems to be something they've completely gone away from since Jackson Hawes has shown up. I still think that there's viability in that set, especially with Anderson and Jackson Hawes together. That's one area. The second area is, and I understand why he comes off the field in third down, because we talk about pass protection. But they need to somehow, some way scheme up and figure out how James Cook is on the field in third down. They've got to get him involved in the passing game more than they are. And it's not just running rail routes or tight end or tailback wheels and things like that. They've got to get him involved in the passing game. They have to figure out a way to keep him on the field in third down, because when it's third down, you got to have your best players on the field. And he's one of the best 3 players on this offense. And lastly, we continually talk about outside receiver, and we talk about, can Shakir move outside to get verticality? Can we move these guys around? There's ways to run vertical routes with slot receivers. And that's something we don't do a very good job of. We continually run shallow routes. We run shallow routes across the middle. We try to run a concept called mesh that you'll see us run quite a bit. And it just sometimes takes a little bit of time. Why can't Shakir run some of those deep crossing routes that you see in Kansas City? He has the ability to do that and get open. If you put him outside, it totally eliminates all his strengths. He's not a long-armed physical receiver to get off a big boy press. It's not what he does. So if you can get him into some vertical routes out of the slot, because my thing is this, everybody right away is like, well, why don't we put Keon at the slot and move Shakir outside? So you're going to make the offense worse by trying to cater to Keon. And this will be my last point, because it's been a little bit long-winded. I know you want to talk. But
I definitely want to talk, Jerry. Come on, let's go. Pick it up.
We say this all the time. It's not a quarterback's job to get a wide receiver targets. It's the coordinator's job to call plays to get him targets. I'm going to go one further. It's not the coordinator's job either to force targets to a player. It's the player's job to earn those targets. And right now, for whatever reason, Keon's having some maturity issues. He was benched on the first drive the other day, all these things. We saw progress, and then it got halted again. It's not Joe Brady's job to force the ball to him. It's his job to get players open and get the ball to playmakers. And I'd like to see us go away from this Keon Coleman-focused passing game and get others involved, especially our slots. So that's my piece.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'll address the first point with a solution. Right, so we have Jackson Hawes. We do a ton of 5-man protection. We can still do 5-man protection and keep James Cook in the game, move him out with motion, have Hawes in the backfield, or start with Hawes in motion, move James out on the snap, back Hawes up, and he can read out on the weak side, opposite of where they're sliding.
But John, what the hell's wrong with having Ty Johnson and Cook in the game at the same time?
Totally agree. We're agreeing that there are multiple solutions to this issue about keeping James Cook active in our third down offense. Totally agree. Right. And then with respect to running the seam, I totally get what you're saying. Like we think, or Joe Brady, it looks as if he believes that vertical routes are by outside receivers and or tight ends only, right? There are ways to get the slot involved in vertical routes, and that would be Khalil Shakir. And yes, we can't reward Keon Coleman by trying to drive targets to him if he's not earning them. And you brought up a great point. You have to, in this league, earn your keep. You have to earn the respect by your performance on the field, your behavior in the locker room, whatever, the whole mix of all of it, in order for the ball to come your way, in order for you to be on the field as the 5th offensive lineman or the first guy off the bench. And you have to do all of those things. And we're not there. We don't see it. We don't understand what's going on. Meetings, practice, travel, whatever the hell it is. But what they say, there's a number of things you can control. You can control your attitude. You can control being on time, all the things. Be excellent at the simple stuff. That's right.
Right. When you look at this, John, and real quickly, and then you can run on this as well, but we are not, even if we bring in a receiver from another team, if we try to trade, we do whatever, we are not based to be a 4-wide or 3-wide all-go vertical passing team. That's not what we are.
You're right on the edge of what I'm going to say if you don't say it.
And
I can't
honestly, Josh Allen is not built to be a quarterback in that system. We are a power-based running football team that runs play action, takes advantages of the mismatches as teams try to play the run, and we can hit some vertical shots off of play action in the running game. And the biggest problem I had with Atlanta was we come out and we try to run our outside zone. It's going nowhere. And then in the second half, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, by the way, we put in gap scheme, and now we're going to clip off 8, 9, 10 yards of carry. You shouldn't have had to wait two quarters to get into that. You should be able to get into that right away.
The problem is falling in love with yourself, right?
Right.
Like this is what we do really well. And then when it's not, you just think you can force a square peg into a round hole.
Right.
And when you were talking about play action, this thought came into my head earlier. Even if we don't run a play action, we do more 5-man protection than any other team in the league. I'm not saying we need to max protect with 7, but we could very easily go a half roll and protect with 6 and give Josh a little bit more time. And beyond that, give our routes more time to develop, give our deeper routes more time to develop by adding that layer of protection, whether you're in 6-man or 7-man protection. People do it all around the league with or without, a play action wave at the running back as he's finding his way into the flat. But again, getting those, and Shavers is capable of it, right? That's why we kept him. He's an outside route guy. You push Shavers up the field, you run a seam and break to the post. That gives James Cook time to leak into the flat. You get the crossing route from the other side with Shakir. I'm just saying, with a little bit more protection, we can press deeper into the secondary.
I agree with that. I just think there's a lot of things that this team can do, but it's got to be born and bred out of the running game. That is what we are. That is what we are. That is what we do. That is what Josh does well. Seeing passing concepts out of the running game, whether it be play action, whether it be establishing the run and then hitting some stuff. We have got to continue to establish the running game. And, that's how we're built right now. And the thing is teams that to try to stretch the field vertical all the time, they usually aren't built to be able to run the football. And, we have taken a lot of pride in Buffalo in being a power set running team. And you can't – this is 2 games in a row now that we've not had an answer early for not maybe – and believe me, and John and I will preach this till the cows come home. Just because you're not running every run for 10-plus yards does not mean that the running game's not successful, okay? Yep. The running game's successful when you get the 3rd down, and if it's 3rd and 6 or less, then you've done a pretty good job of staying in front of the chains. But, yeah, I mean, I get a little bit frustrated when we just think that we just had one receiver here or one, and all of a sudden, boom, everything's fixed, and we turn into the greatest show on turf. And it's not how it is. That's not how this team is built. And if they don't establish the run or don't continue to be that physical run team, they're going to continue to have problems.
That's right, Jerry. And then what happens when people abandon, the fires get started, and then it turns into a smokehouse. And
right. We lost John here on the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with John Fina. John is on the road. He's in Durham, North Carolina, and he's on he's at a Airbnb, so maybe not the best of Wi-Fi. So hopefully we get John back soon. But as we roll along here on the Sahlen Show, and John, if you're listening, you need to reboot. You need to go ahead and reboot. But anyway, as we were talking about, and it's when you get into these offensive kind of stale situations, okay, and this is something that I believe to be true right now, what's going on in Buffalo. And a big part of it is this. And we sit there and every time we run things, we always had that safety net. And that safety net is always Josh Allen. So no matter what we do, whether we don't go ahead and keep an extra guy in to pass protect and we only go with 5 instead of whatever, and we do all these different things, we have always had Josh Allen to bail ourselves out of it. The last 2 weeks, these defenses have done an unbelievable job of contain rushing, of taking away the right side of the field, to where that, to me, is where the frustration lies with Allen. Not necessarily the offense in general. It's the fact that even he has now seen and felt that maybe that escapability that he's had in the past, and it started last season, a few games. I thought Baltimore was the first team to really do a good job of deliberately shutting off the right side of the field to him. You saw it out of the Patriots. I thought the Patriots were 2 steps ahead at all times. And then Atlanta, we were just hard-headed. Because we should have been in our power sets. You saw what happened to Atlanta last night if you watched the San Francisco game. San Francisco is an injury-depleted team that doesn't have much than a power running game and a backup quarterback that nobody wanted, and they win the game because they went and they imposed their will and they did all those things. Yep. So whatever we do, the answer now cannot be just, well, Josh will get us out of it. This is where Brady comes into it, and I think sometimes there's a little bit of laziness amongst coordinators and others, that they've always had that aspect, and it kind of makes them look good because they know that plays will be made. But that's not the case. Teams are evolving, and as they evolve, we have to evolve. So
I think
John's
Jerry
back with us, and his Wi-Fi is good.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is back up. How far did I get into Sahlen's? Because what I wanted to tell you is if they're not available in your local grocer, you can order them on Sahlen.com, and you can have hot dog season all day long. And I mean, Tulsa, Oklahoma, it hardly ever gets cold there. Order up your Sahlen's, snap off a great dog on the weekend. Thank you, Sahlen's, for sponsoring my show. Jerry, I wanted to ask this question because I mull this around a little bit. Josh has this great reputation of being a playmaker, of, pulling the rabbit out of the hat. With that, sometimes comes some complacency of the people around him. And I think you have to manage everybody. Like when we were in the locker room, I remember the veterans saying, it's going to be me. I'm going to step up. I'm going to make the play. And I think that attitude really has to be relit, right? Where everybody, no matter what position they're playing on the offense, has to believe that on the very next play, what I do is going to make a difference. And I don't know, and of course I can't ever know, if some of that is like a guy thinking, well, Josh will bail us out, but who's he going to bail out to? It's got to be you. It's got to be me. It's got to be Jerry. You got to want that role. You want that mantle.
No, I agree. I mean, others have to step up as well. But like I said, again, at some point in time, this goes for the defense as well. And I know we're going to talk about the defense in a minute. When we roll out on the field on Sunday, I'd like to see Kincaid. I'd like to see Palmer. I'd like to see our full gamut of players. I'd like to see Curtis Samuel. We see Curtis Samuel for 1 or 2 games, and then he's gone again for 2 or 3. And that's the problem right now that this team has. It's not just offensively, it's defensively as well, and we'll talk about it also. But how can you get into any kind of rhythm or get into any kind of schematics and those types of things when on the flip side, you never know who's going to be out there to play the game and take snaps. And that's also very frustrating.
I agree. And defensively, let's go there. Right. We get 2 guys back this week that were on the bad boy list. How do you see that playing out with Hoyt and Ogunjobi? Do you think there's ample opportunity for both of them to come in and stake a claim at 40% snaps at either defensive end or defensive tackle? And who gets kind of put to the test, right? Like if you get sidelined a little bit for fresh legs, I mean, that's got to be a message. So it's a 2-part question.
Well, I think if you look inside, we've played with rookies and practice squad elevated players the entire season.
Yep.
So Ogunjobi coming in and being a longtime NFL vet that knows how to play, you'd have to think right off the bat you're going to get better there because he understands what to do. With Ed healthy again, you've got Daquan, and hopefully Daquan is healthy, and then you've got Deion Walker, who, here's the thing about Deion Walker, and I'm going to, right now Deion Walker is probably, I don't want to say the most misunderstood player on the team, but close to it. In the fact that, yes, Deion does make some big plays. He has the ability to get lateral and make some splash plays and get tackles for loss. But Deion also has the propensity to not be in his gap and make big mistakes as well. So it's usually feast or famine with him. So he's still learning. So let's give him a bit of grace.
Agreed.
And also maybe pull the reins back a little bit on, rookie of the year talk or whatever else we've come up with. Just because you make big plays here and there does not necessarily mean you are technically sound. But I will say this, those four are a much better option than what we've been playing with inside.
Okay. I kill myself. At this rate, though, he is our rookie of the year. I mean, with this draft class, he's the Buffalo Bills.
I mean,
rookie of the year.
I brought this up today. It's probably the best reach that Beans ever made in the draft because taking him in the 4th, if you watched his film out of Kentucky and just how stoved up and bad he looked, moving up or whatever to take him in the 4th was probably a bit of a reach. But it's paid off.
Guys, both of them have got to just be champing at the bit, right? I mean, Hoyt has got to be like, let me off the chain, let me go and just mash up and play a little bit like Joey Bosa, right? Very physical at the point of attack with a secondary maneuver off of a rush, which I think, Rousseau has lacked. I think Epinesa lacks that as well. So, I mean, he's got to look at this as like, I could be the 3rd guy. I could take Epinesa's rotational spot very quickly. And then with Ogunjobi, I mean, that's like an insert. We just want them to be starved for action, right? And fresh.
Right. Well, I think you and I might have watched different film on Rousseau the last 2 weeks because since he's come off the bone bruise and he's feeling better. I thought Greg's best game of the season was last week. Epinesa is Epinesa. And what'll be interesting, John, is this, and this is where I think this is where the interesting mesh happens, and I think something that you and I need to talk about. Buffalo's been criticized for not playing regular personnel very much. Well, this year they've played more regular personnel than they ever have
easily
with McDermott's tenure. Okay.
Yep.
With that being said, Hoyt gives you positional flexibility. And the thing about Hoyt is, and I'm wondering if we see some of this, especially on heavy run teams. Now, look, this week you got two backs that can go. Okay. You got Hill. You got Chuba Hubbard, who is your speed juke guy, and then you got Dowdell, who's a power guy. With that being said, if they play regular personnel, do you see Hoyt lined up in the Sam position? Who do you see? And here's the question mark is, who do you see in the Mike spot? Because honestly, if I look at the linebackers and the strengths and weaknesses of what they have right now, our best middle linebacker is Shaq Thompson.
For sure.
It's not Terrell Bernard.
No.
But I think Terrell Bernard can fill the Milano role very, very well. So does regular personnel, when you look at your three linebackers, do you have a guy like Hoyt? Do you have Shaq Thompson? Do you have Terrell Bernard playing the weak side Milano role? So, Hoyt, while he needs to be up on the line of scrimmage, rushing the passer, and I would imagine, John, he'll take Solomon's spot in that rotation. And whether we'll see him standing up over a guard like Solomon's been doing, or we'll actually see him outside, we'll see how that goes. But in early downs and run situations, I think we might see him at linebacker.
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more. And I love that ability. It just, you can go from a 4-3 to a 3-4 very quickly. Even if you wanted to get to an odd front, you could pop him off the line, run a zero nose. That gives you option for pressure in the A gaps on either side of the ball, to strength or to weakness, depending on, which way Carolina likes to slide, and in various, passing downs where you might have, this look of a 4-2, which could go to a 3-3, or a 4-3 that could go to a 3-4. And I think of the variety of looks that Hoyt offers because of his position flexibility could be something that they capitalize on.
Well, think about this, John. I mean, before Joey Bosa showed up to Buffalo, and granted, being a 4-2, 4-3 defensive end with his hand on the ground is actually the best thing for him. The last so many years in LA, in San Diego, he was a stand-up end in a 3-4 defense. So Joey, if we felt that hopping into a 3-man front would be advantageous, Joey can play that stand-up if you wanted to put, other defensive ends inside. So there is flexibility there. And then I guess the other big question would be, and I think that's really, John, where we're going with this as far as the front seven, and the front is, we really don't know what they're going to do. We just know that now all of a sudden Pandora's box has been opened with the addition of Hoyt on the roster, and then a little bit of solidification inside a D tackle with Ogunjobi. But I ask you this, when the game kicks off in Charlotte on Sunday, is this a case where we're going to see, a change at safety? Are we going to see Jordan Poyer start the game at safety in Carolina?
Could you imagine?
Because right now, I have no problems with it.
Yeah, I think, look, at the worst case scenario, if they're both dressed, when you start telling people, you know what, you're going to sit the first couple of series, there's wake-up calls that happen. And we're not in the locker room, so we don't know if there's any complacency, right? But I think there is a leadership aspect to what Poyer can do on the field that might be missing in the secondary right now. I think Taylor Rapp is still a good player. I think he's not playing very well right now. But I think that sort of fresh energy, and it might be smart. You get Hoyt, Ogunjobi, you get Poyer re-enlisted, and there's some freshness that you just kind of force onto the opposition. So that's not a bad thought.
Joe Marino talked about this a little bit, and I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder. If I'm using somebody else's stuff, I'm going to say it, which is kind of weird in this business. But anyway, he was talking about Rap next to DeMar Hamlin. Okay, Rap next to DeMar Hamlin worked for Rap because Rap didn't have to tell DeMar Hamlin what to do. Now you have him next to Bishop. Bishop, being inexperienced, is having to babysit Bishop, taking away from his play. I don't know this. It's just theory. But now you put Poyer next to Bishop, and Poyer has no problem. I mean, Poyer didn't have to be here for two. Poyer can walk out on the field, know all the calls, know what to do, knows everything. And now that solidifies that back end a little bit with an experienced guy like Poyer next to Bishop.
In my heart of hearts, I hope there's no truth to that, because if you get a 2-year guy who can't grasp the defense, who needs to be told where to go,
well, you know what I'm saying, John.
I do know what you're saying, but that kind of irks me. But I think the nice thing is this idea of fresh, Jerry. And you know what else is fresh, Jerry? Anchor Bar wings.
I'm hungry for it.
Anchor Bar wings, they're always fresh. Did you know they don't ship frozen at all? Anchor Bar wings arrive fresh, unfrozen. Never, they're never frozen. Jumbo, high quality wings. Their wings are deep fried and sauced to your liking with over 24 varieties of sauces and dry rubs. And guess what, Jerry? I'm going to have an Anchor Bar in Tucson, Arizona in 2 short weeks. So in addition to those wings I'm going to be enjoying in Tucson, I'm going to get pizza, appetizers, chicken wings, beef on weck, burgers, sandwiches, salads, wraps, 23 televisions. I can go to Frisco, Texas, where they're opening. I can go to Raleigh, North Carolina, and open where they're opening soon. If you don't, you can get Anchor Bar wings delivered to you. So thank you, Anchor Bar Wings, for sponsoring our show. And guess what, Jerry? I am going to be eating up some wings, and it won't be long.
Well, hey, as we get into final thoughts today, as we're talking about this upcoming Carolina game and the roster, and obviously Buffalo Bills, FanDuel line for the game, laying 7.5 from FanDuel. When you look at this game, John, just kind of your final thoughts on it. Can we get anything out of this? Because we've already heard this as well. And the one thing, because what I'm saying is, many people feel that it doesn't matter if we win this game by a lot. We're supposed to win it by a lot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I never care about how many you win by, just as long as you win. Here's my take, Jerry. I hope that the negativity about the defense hasn't seeped into the locker room, because in the past 2 losses, they've held the opponent to few enough points that we should be able to overcome. And I know we get, and even I do get upset by long drives that result in touchdowns. I get upset by splash plays, wide open guys in the secondary. But at the end of the game, they only scored 24 points. We expect our offense to score 28, 31, 35. So hopefully the defense goes in, not trying to overthink it, punish Bills Mafia as much as they want, as long as they hold them to 24 or less. Offensively, a little bit more max protect, figure out ways to get the ball creatively into James Cook's hands, give Josh a little bit of extra time, be a little bit more creative earlier with your run game, expose what they give you. And you know what? I think we pull this one out 31-21, 35-24, and that's okay by me. I don't care if it's 45-10. All right. I just want one more point than the other guy. And that's how I do it. Tell the defense, keep working your asses off. You didn't kill us. Go to the offense and say, Brady, wide receivers, Josh, figure this out.
And you're right. I mean, you're 100% correct. For all their deficiencies throughout the season, they've always found a way to make stops when they needed to, get turnovers when they needed to, make big plays when they needed to. And honestly, at the end of the day, to give the offense the opportunity to win, that's their job. And I don't see anybody in the league going out there, unless it's just an absolute horrible team like the Jets, anybody holding anybody down. I mean, hell, yesterday we had the most points scored ever in the fourth quarter in NFL history, when Denver came back and scored 33 in the fourth quarter and overcame a 19-0 deficit. So the days of just going out and choking off offenses and not giving up points, not going to happen. Now, you want to try to eliminate the explosives and things of that nature, especially in the running game, which is what I think probably the biggest thing that the Bills defense needs to do more than just, think they're going to go out and, hold somebody to under 200 yards. You got to eliminate the explosives. But the things about the Bills offense, they need to figure out ways to continue to get Josh out of the pocket if need be. John, I loved your assessment earlier about getting him out on half rolls early. Let's not wait to get right. Let's just go ahead and roll right off the bat, off of play action or whatever it may be. I do like your point about more protection. I do like the fact that I want James Cook more involved in third down, and I don't have a problem with having two backs in the game in third down, whether it's Ty Johnson and him or whatever. Two backs is hard to defend. It always has been. I want to see more verticality out of our slot receivers. I want to see some deep crossing routes. I want to see them instead of – because it's almost like Shakir has become the security blanket, right? No matter what, we know Shakir – there's no better 3 to 5 yard receiver in the NFL than your boy Beef Tallow. I mean, Beef Tallow owns the 3 to 5 yard domain, right?
That's
but he's
right.
also talented enough to get deep on routes, and I want to see that also. But lastly, again, I will say this. No matter what they do offensively against Carolina, it has to be rooted in power bully football.
Totally agree.
It's got to be rooted out of big sets, whether they start bringing Alec Anderson back in or not, whatever it may be. It's got to be rooted out of power football.
And we got the guys to do it. We do have the guys up front. Don't be thinking we don't have the 5 guys plus Alec Anderson up front that can't do it. We can get this done. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Ostroski, tell everybody what's coming up next on the network. I know tomorrow night on The Beat, we've got Nate Geary. That's the show where we interview local beat reporters for the Buffalo Bills. And then on Wednesday night, Jerry Ostroski and Zig Fracassi are getting a little tongue-tied here late in the show, Jerry. And that's a week till Sunday. No, 7 days to Sunday.
Bingo.
7 days to Sunday. And then we got Anthony Marino with the walkthrough. It's your Saturday morning pregame. And don't forget, if you're a betting man, we got Mafia Bets with Dan Freddy. He's killing it. If you like to bet, I'm not very good at it. I don't do a ton of it, but Dan researches and he wins. And he'll give you opportunities. You don't have to take them. You're not obligated. But come check out Mafia Bets with Dan Freddy. This is Jerry. What do you got?
And one more thing before we leave. Remember, this is the same personnel and the same coaching staff that had the most historic offense in Buffalo Bills history last year.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, Bills Mafia, troglodytes, villains, lovers, and all for this Halloween month. You haters, you ghosts, you lovers, you likers. This has been the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with John Fina, presented by FanDuel. Thanks for tuning in. Share it with a friend. Shout it out for me, for Jerry, for Joe, for Ant, for Dan, for Zig, for On the Beat. I say, go Bills.
I still want to end this on a Morrissey line, but much love, go Bills. And I did the same thing that I did last week. Dad's going to be mad at me.